What is up, One Night fam? How y'all doing tonight? Oh man, I am so excited to see your wonderful and beautiful faces. My name is Josh, if we've not met, and I'm super excited to be able to hang out with you on this lovely Wednesday evening. Now, before we get started, we're gonna have a great time tonight, so I want you to look at your neighbor and tell them, I hope you're ready. All right, so I only heard half of y'all voices, so I want you to look at your other neighbor and tell them, I really hope you're ready. Okay. We are in for a great night, right? We're in a series that we're calling Monday Morning Faith, okay? And that basically means when you leave here, when you leave a Sunday, what does it look like to practice this thing out that we're talking about? And today we're talking about honoring authority. Now, that can sound pretty daunting at times, but we're going to take a stab at it. But before we do that, I just want to give you a little context for myself for those of you that have not met me. I have the privilege of helping to serve our kids team and lead our kids team over here in First Orlando. And I am originally from Connecticut. Anybody not from Florida around here? Anybody not from Florida? Okay, all right. So we got some people. All right. I'm originally from Connecticut, moved down here about 7 years ago, okay? I used to do Christian hip hop, so I was a rapper. I did that for 10 years. And then I moved down to Florida. I Googled churches. The first church that popped up was First Orlando. I started attending. Oddly enough, funny enough, I preached my first message here around this table, co-taught that about 5 years ago. And God has just been doing what he's been doing. I got to meet this lovely lady, and we winded up getting married 2 years later. Go ahead, put it up on the screen, Mike. Yes, that is my wife, Bree. The better half of me, okay? We're at one of my favorite spots. I don't know if it's her favorite spot. Anybody ever been to Texas de Brazil? Anybody ever been to Texas de Brazil? Okay, yes, Brazilian steak, yes, that's all me. That's all me, okay? I love it. But we're just super excited to be able to be here now, hanging out with you all. Now, I don't know about you. I know that you're navigating through as you're growing up in high school, and you've gone through elementary school, and you've gone through middle school, and you had different seasons in your lives, right? You had a lot of different seasons within your lives, and I've had to also navigate different seasons in my life. But one thing I realized I had to learn as I'm navigating different seasons in my life is how to respond to authority. Everybody say authority. How to respond to authority, right? And that's not always, sometimes that's an easy thing to do, and it's just like, man, it's no thought to it, but sometimes it's a little harder than what we think it might be, all right? Now, if you have your Bibles, go ahead and open up to Titus chapter 3, because that's where we're going to be in today, Titus chapter 3. And as you're turning there, I'm going to set us up a little bit for what we're about to talk about tonight. Let me ask you a question. How many of y'all like being told what to do? Raise your hand if you like being told what to do. Okay, I see one or two hands going like this, like kind of, okay. So this authority conversation is, we got to hit this today, okay? Now, I'm not going to lie. Growing up, I was not the type of person that liked people telling me what to do. And I remember I found myself in this circumstance that I thought was a little unfair. So back in the day, I remember when I was in high school, we used to do this thing where phones were a thing. And we went through like the Nextel phase. Anybody know what Nextel is? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I am that old now. It's okay. There were Nextels, and then there was another phone that used to be super popular when I was in high school. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Somebody tell me if they know what it is. I'm pretty sure you don't know what it is, but somebody tell me if you are brave enough to think you know what it is. Is a pager? Okay, possibly. A BlackBerry? Possibly. A flip phone, possibly? Juan, they got me feeling old, Juan. What do you think it is? Motorola. A Motorola? Oh, my gosh. Okay, so this was a sidekick. They used to call it a sidekick. It was a T-Mobile sidekick. So it was one of the first phones where you could kind of flip up and hop online. There used to be this thing called AOL before it was all of this texting back in the day, and that was our instant messenger. And if you had this phone, it was all the rave. So one day, one of my friends told me, man, I can get you this phone. And I was just like, oh my gosh, bet. I'm like, I am so excited to go and get this phone. He's like, yeah, I can make sure that I get you this phone. He found me the phone. Someone was selling the phone. I scrounged up money, took lunch money that I was supposed to be using for lunch money, and tried to put it all together so I had enough to buy this phone. And I think it was about like $60 that I spent on this phone. And I remember I bought the phone. I was super excited. The person told me, yeah, this is all good, whatever the case may be, you just need a charger for it. I'm like, okay. So I bought the phone, I looked at the phone, it looked okay, brought it home, put it on the charger, it didn't work. It's like, okay, so maybe the battery's a little dead. Let me double check and see if it just works overnight. Worked overnight, tried to plug it on overnight, woke up, slid it back open, it still didn't work. I'm just like, okay, we got a problem, okay? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not proud of this. I'm not condoning this, but I used to have a little bit of a temper, okay? If I could be honest with you, I used to have a little bit of temper. So when I went to school, I was just like, man, I'm about to find this guy, and we're going to have a lovely conversation, okay? So I went to school, and I went into the classroom that I knew he was going to be in. I was like, man, where is he? And they told me where he was. I was like, okay. I went into his classroom. I was like, hey, man, like, what's the problem, bro? This isn't working. He's just like, no, it works. I'm just like, bro, just give me my money back. He's just like, you're not going to get your money back. I'm just like, okay. I'm getting my money back, bro. I'm getting my money back. Like, I'm not playing them type of games. So it got to that. The teacher is just like, no, guys, stop. And I pushed him. I'm not gonna lie, I pushed him, and we're about to get into it, and she's calling the administrator outside. The administrator comes in the room. He breaks it up. We both go into the office. Now, I'm thinking, well, I'm good because he sold me a phone that does not work. So all I want is my money back. Like, I shouldn't be getting in trouble for nothing. And as I'm there, the administrator goes and starts to talk to both of us, and then he proceeds to tell us that we were both getting written up. I'm just like, wait a minute, that's not fair. Like, I didn't do anything wrong according to my eyes. I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you telling me that we are both getting in trouble when he was the one that did something wrong? Now, when I think about this, I feel like some of y'all are going to have to navigate this as you navigate the next few years of your life and as you continue to grow. And the question that makes me ask, the question that begs me to ask is this: how are we supposed to follow God when those in authority over us, sometimes we feel like they misuse or abuse their power? You see, in that moment for me, I'm just like, man, that's not fair. That's not how it goes. He did something wrong to me. And yeah, maybe I did something that I wasn't supposed to do in the process, but like, I shouldn't be the one getting in trouble. He should be the one in trouble. And how do we navigate that? If we're saying that we're followers of Christ, if we're saying, man, we're students and we've chosen to follow Christ, and here's what I know, not everyone in the room may feel that way right now, right? Not everyone in the room has committed their lives to Jesus and to following him. But if you have, and you're saying you're a Christian, here's the question that you need to figure out. You need to figure out, how are you supposed to follow God when you navigate life and those in authority may misuse, or you may feel like they are abusing the power that they have? Because let's be honest, it's easy to honor good authority. It's easy to honor things when things are going our way. But how do we do that when it's not? How do we honor authority when it feels difficult to do? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we hop into that, bow your heads, close your eyes. We're going to pray. Jesus, we are grateful for who you are, Lord. We're grateful for your word. Lord, as you allow us to broach this topic of honoring authority, Lord, I pray that you might just open our hearts and we might just be able to listen and take something away from this as we navigate school, as we navigate wherever it is that we find ourselves, Lord, at home, as we navigate, as we grow up older in our jobs and all of the things, Lord, I pray that you might just show us what it means to follow you in every circumstance. In Jesus' name I pray, and everybody said, amen. All right, so before we jump into this, here's the question that I think that some of you may have. If you're tracking like me and thinking like me, and I'm just like, man, I'm about to make this case for why we should honor authority, the question may come to you, though, is the question that may come to you is this. It's when do we not honor authority? Is there any time that we don't honor authority? Because I'm pretty sure if you're anything like me, you're thinking all the way to the other side of like, yeah, Josh, yeah, maybe we got to do it when it's hard, but like, you don't know this circumstance, or you don't know this circumstance, or you don't know this. What if this happens? So let's just get that out of the way before we dive into what we're about to dive into. So when should we not honor authority? If you're taking notes, write this down. We should not honor authority when authority asks you to disobey God, right? If the authority is asking you to disobey God, if someone is asking you to lie, to cheat, to hurt someone, to go against God, you should not obey them in that, right? Acts 5:29 says this: we must obey God rather than man. Right? So when authority is asking us to disobey God, we do not honor, we do not respond to, let me not say honor, we do not obey what authority is saying. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is this: if you're taking notes, write it down. When authority leads you into sin, okay? So if they're leading you into doing something that's going to compromise your faith, if they're leading you into doing something that you know is wrong, you know you don't want to follow that. I used to have a job. I'm not going to talk about where the job was, but I used to have a job, and I remember at one point they were doing some things at this job, and I was just like, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. And I remember they knew that I was a Christian. So I remember being promoted into a role. And after we got promoted into a role, it was in the car business, and I got promoted into this role. And I remember being like, man, this is going to be tough because I'm going to have a conversation with them and tell them like, hey, I don't know what that is, but I'm not doing that. And before I can even fix my lips to say, hey, I don't think I'm going to, he's just like, don't even, Josh, we know you. Like, we know, don't even talk about it. Like, we know that that's not of you. We already know who you are. So when authority is trying to get you to compromise your faith, that is not something that you step into. You don't follow people into sin. Last thing is this: when authority is either harmful or abusive, right? If you're in a situation where your authority is unsafe, manipulative, or abusive, that is not the time to obey what they say, right? In that circumstance, you want to kind of tell a trusted adult. You want to tell someone that can help you. You want to speak up in that moment. But here's the real truth. Even when we're not following authority, there's still a way to honor the authority as we respond. Right? Just because what they're telling us is something that we are not going to do, there's still a way for us to conduct ourselves in that moment. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Titus chapter 3, verse 1. I will give you a little bit context. Paul is writing to Titus. So Titus was like one of Paul's right-hand guys. And Paul went with Titus, and they were going and they were planting church and different things. And they were in this place called on the island of Crete. Okay, and when they were on the island of Crete, Paul wound up leaving Titus there because he wanted Titus to help the people kind of figure some things out. Titus wasn't just a believer, but he was a leader, and he was trying to help these people build a healthy church culture, is what we would call it in today's language, right? And here's the thing about Crete. Crete was a place where there was a lot of rebellion. Right? The people were a dishonest people. They had a lack of self-control. So the people Paul was talking to Titus about coming out of that culture, they did not respect authority. Right? They spoke negatively about others. They just lived for themselves. They were very selfish people. All right? And we're going to hop into this letter that Paul is writing to Titus, and we're going to jump right into what Paul is reminding Titus to remind these people of. And it says this: Titus 3, verse 1 through 2 says this: remind the people to be subject to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready to do whatever is good. Everybody say good. Everybody say good. To do whatever is good, to slander no one, to be peaceable and considerate, and always to be gentle toward everyone. All right? It's three things I want us to notice in this text as Paul is talking to Titus. The first thing is this: it starts with remind, right? It starts with a reminder. If you look at the text, it starts with a reminder, which would insinuate, which would help us to come to the conclusion of this is not something that they didn't know. He's reminding the people to be subject to the rulers and authorities. Translation, he's reminding the people to humble themselves to the rulers and to the authorities in the place. And this is something that he has to remind them of. It's not something that he's teaching them, right? So it's something that they know. And when I think of being reminded of something, I think of, anybody like sports in here? Okay, anybody following March Madness? Anybody basketball fans? Okay, we got a few basketball fans. If you don't know what that is, March Madness is a tournament where the boys are playing basketball, the girls are playing basketball, and they're trying to make it to this Final Four so they can see who can compete for the championship and all of the things. And as I was watching one of the games, my wife loves women's basketball, okay? My wife actually played basketball in college a little bit, and she loves it, so it's always on TV, and she loves South Carolina, okay? Now, we're watching the South Carolina game, and I was watching the South Carolina game. She wasn't there, and as I'm watching the game, South Carolina is blowing this team out by like 60 points, okay? Not 40, not 30, not 20, but 60 points. South Carolina is blowing the team out. For those of you that don't know sports, that means that they're winning, okay? They're winning, all right? They're winning in big, big margins. And they're talking to the coach. They're talking to the coach, and I thought it was super funny, Coach. They're talking to the coach, and it's just like, Coach, as they're kind of going into the next game, at the end of the game, they're talking to the coach, like, Coach, what do you want to remind your team of as you go into the next game? What do you want to remind your team of? Well, we just got to remember that we got to come off to a great start. Like, we got to come off to a great start. Like, we can't not be passing the ball and rebounding and then, and we can't be doing this and we can't be doing that. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Y'all just won by 60 points. What are you reminding anybody of anything? You don't need to remind them of anything. They know. They won by 60, but no. She still knew if they're trying to get to the level that they're trying to get to, there are things that their players need to be reminded of. You see, when Paul was talking to Titus, this is what he was saying. He said, yeah, y'all may know, you may think you have it figured out. You may think that you know that you're supposed to submit to authority, but here's what's going to happen. When it's time to do that, you probably won't, which is why I need to remind you to do that. If you're taking notes, write this down. We don't struggle because we don't know. We struggle because we don't always do. Right? We're not going to, as you navigate high school, as you grow up, as you're in your job, as you're in different places, you're not going to struggle with submitting to authority because you don't know better. You're going to struggle because we don't always do what we know. And that's the first thing that I want us to observe as we look at the text. Second thing I want us to observe is this. Honoring authority is a mindset. Okay, honoring authority is a mindset. I'm going to go back to the text. It says this: remind the people to be subject to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready. Everybody say ready? To be ready to do whatever is good. So here's what it's saying. Like, when I read this verse, I'm going to be honest with you. At first pass, it discourages me, right? And here's why it discourages me, because it's saying, man, you have to be subject to rulers and to authorities. Here's what I want you to do. I want to remind you to be subject to rulers and authority, to humble yourself. And not just to be subject to them, not just to humble yourself in a passive way, but in an active way. Right? It says to be ready. So you got to be waiting. You got to be ready to do it. Like you got to be in stance, right? I remember playing football. Anybody play football? I'm sorry, I got a lot of sports analogies right now. Okay. Anybody play? Okay. When you play football as a wide receiver, you know that when you line up, you don't just line up. You don't just come up to the line and you just line up like this. I'm going to give you guys some game. Just track with me a little bit, but you don't just line up like this. There is a stance that you need to be in as a wide receiver. Like, you have to be ready, right? You got to be down. You got to be ready for to be able to come off of the line and explode in a way. And that's the visual that I get when I think of this, right? He's telling us, man, like, we need to be ready to do whatever is good when we find ourselves in that circumstance. So in that moment where things are going unfair, or in that moment when things are not going our way, it's like, man, we're not thinking about, oh my gosh, what should I do? We should already have been reminded, and we should already be ready to be able to move in that way. And let me tell you something, this does not get easy. right? I'm not preaching, teaching this because I have this figured out. As an adult, I still struggle with this, right? But this is why we want to remember, and as you guys are younger, we want to practice this. Because I tell you this, if you're not practicing it now, it's going to show itself in so many different ways as you get older and older and older. It's not going to get easier. And I asked the whole room, who likes to be told what to do? And nobody raised their hand. And I get it, and that's okay. But life is going to happen, and we're going to have to navigate some of that, all right? So honoring authority is a mindset, all right? Last thing I want us to observe is this. Our words reveal honor, right? Our words reveal honor. Okay, so it says this, remind the people to be subject to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready to do whatever is good, to slander no one, to be peaceable and considerate, and always to be gentle towards everyone. Our words reveal honor. So when we're navigating a circumstance and things aren't going our way, or when we're navigating a circumstance where authority or someone in authority over us, and when I say that, all I mean is maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's a coach. When you get older, maybe it's going to be your leader, your boss, whatever it is. Those are different people that can be in authority over you, right? And our words reveal honor as we deal with them, right? It tells us how we should deal with them. It says to not slander anyone. It says to be peaceable and considerate to others. Now, I remember I grew up in a Haitian family. My parents are Haitian, okay? And so there are just some weird things that I found weird that I was just like, man, I don't think that's a rule in someone else's house. I'm going to tell you one of the things that I was just like, man, I didn't know if this was a rule. Y'all can let me know if this was a rule in your house. I couldn't whistle in my house. Are you guys able to whistle in your house? No. Okay, she said no. Okay. And if you're able to whistle in your house, raise your hand. Okay, man, y'all are, I love, like, y'all have all the freedom in the world. I could not whistle in my house. My parents took that as a sign of disrespect, okay? They took that as a sign of disrespect. And I'm just like, man, I'm whistling. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm whistling. So me and my sisters at times, we would try to whistle. Like, to this day, I can't even whistle properly because I just didn't get to learn when I was younger, okay? So I'm imagining myself whistling right now. So me and my sisters, we would play around, and we would whistle, and then we would stop real quick as if our parents didn't hear us. And then when we didn't get caught or they didn't choose to do anything, we would talk junk about them. We'd be like, man, that's so silly. Like, why can't we do that? And that's so, like, such and such can do it, or such and such can do it, and such can do it. And here's what I realized. In that moment, as I'm talking junk about my parents, I am not honoring my parents, right? And we used to get in trouble if they heard us talking junk about what it was. We would still get in trouble even if we didn't whistle. Why? Because they were trying to set a standard of, hey, you may not like this. This may not be how you want to do it. But right now, we are in authority over you. And this is how we are leading our household. And guess what? I had to submit, right? I had to submit to what it was, or I had to bear the consequences of what it was. And if we're saying that we're followers of Jesus, we're saying, man, we want to do the thing that Jesus would do. We want to pattern our lives after Jesus. We want to try to submit, all right? So the truth is, dishonor usually shows up in our words before it shows up in our actions. So when someone and a teacher is telling you what to do or whatever the case may be, and you be like, well, I didn't say anything, but you just rolled your whole eyes all the way to the other side of the world, that's doing something. That is dishonor. That is dishonor. Just because you don't say anything does not mean that you are not dishonoring them with your body language, all right? So here's the big idea. Here's what I want you guys to remember. It's this. It's that honor isn't a reaction. It's a decision that we make ahead of time, okay? Honor is not a reaction. It's not something that we do. It's not something that we react to. It's a decision that we make ahead of time. Because here's what we need to realize as we're going to go out into this world and navigate this world and live a Monday morning faith. We realize that at home, you're not always going to agree with the rules that your parents have. You're not always going to agree, all right? And sometimes you're going to be told no without any explanation from them. okay? And sometimes you're going to feel like, man, my friends have more freedom than I do. Why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? Here's what I want you to remember. Honor is not a reaction, it's a decision. Okay, it's a decision. So it's your job to respond in an honoring way and when that happens. Or maybe you find yourself at school and you're dealing with teachers and you're getting in trouble for something you feel like you didn't do, or you're unfair, or you feel like you've gotten an unfair grade, or you feel like a teacher is playing favorites with other people. But here's the thing. I want you to remember that honor isn't a reaction, it's a decision. It's a decision that you make ahead of time. Or maybe you're in sports or whatever it is, and you have coaches or you have refs, and there's a bad call that affects the game and throws everything off for you. Or you're not getting the playing time that you want. Or there's decisions that are happening that you feel like wasn't earned or feel like wasn't explained. Here's what I want you to remember. That honor isn't a reaction. It's a decision that you make ahead of time. And here's the question I have for you. Are you willing to make this decision today? If you're saying that you are a follower of Jesus, is this the life that you are committed to actually follow? Because you can make that decision today of wanting to honor others, wanting to honor those that are placed above us, right? We see Jesus do this so well. Right? Jesus, when he was in the garden, before he went to the cross, Jesus was in the garden and he's walking into a situation that he didn't necessarily want. And he says, Father, if there's any other way, take this cup from me. But nevertheless, your will, not my will, be done. See, Jesus is the model. He's not asking us to do anything that he hasn't already done. Listen, y'all, honor isn't a reaction. It's a decision that we make ahead of time. So, some of you may be asking this, okay, Josh, we understand that. It's a decision that we make ahead of time. Are we willing to make that decision? But how can I do that practically? What does it look like practically to honor those that are in authority over me? And that's what we're going to talk about as we kind of wrap up this conversation. So the first thing that I want to talk about is this. The biggest thing that's going to come in your way of honoring other people is conflict. Okay? The biggest thing that's going to get in your way of honoring other people is going to be conflict. Something is going to happen in which you're going to have an opportunity to respond to that thing. And how you choose to respond to that thing is going to dictate how you choose to honor that person. So I want to land with three different conflicts that I feel like you will inevitably have as you navigate this thing called life, and how you can start to posture yourself to respond to ways in a way that is honoring. If you're ready to do that, say yes. Okay, I believe half of you. If you're ready to do that, say yes. Thank you. All right, here we go. First thing is this. You're going to have conflict with people or those that are above you when it comes to ideas, okay? You're going to have conflict when it comes to ideas, right? Somebody's going to tell you that you need to do something. Your parents are going to tell you that hey, I want you to go clean your room right now. Or your parents are going to tell you, hey, we have to go to this party and you have to come with us. And you're like, no, I don't want to come, right? And that's okay, right? That first part is okay. You're going to say that and they're going to be like, well, I'm telling you that we're going, so we're going. And how you choose to respond from that moment is going to dictate how you choose to honor them. You see, when we have conflict over ideas, here's what we want to do. When there's a conflict that we have, when it's over ideas that we have, we want to advocate for ourselves, okay? So we want to say, hey, I don't like this, or hey, I have another idea, or hey, can we try it this way? We have every right to be able to say that. Like, hey, I don't know if that's the way that maybe I want to try it another way, but here's what happens. We can advocate for ourselves, but we cannot try to force those that are in authority to change if they do not want to change. So if your parents are asking you something, you have every right to advocate for what it is that you want, but then you have to, just like Jesus, take the posture of submission to what they actually will allow. So as we're navigating conflict around ideas, as you're navigating conflict around ideas at school, at home, wherever it is that you find yourself, that's one thing I want to remind you of is that, man, advocate for yourself. Advocate, tell them what it is that you want, but you have to be able to, with open hands, you got to be able to say, okay, well, You know what? Maybe it's not going to be that way. If I have my way, or maybe I get to change things, then that's going to be different. Like in my household right now, we can whistle, okay? I made the executive decision, with my wife, that we can whistle in our house, okay? So when you get a little bit older, you'll get that agency to be able to do that, all right? So that's conflict around ideas. Second thing that you're going to have conflict around is expectations. Okay? They're going to be things that you thought were going to go one way. They're going to be things that people that are in charge are going to tell you that's going to go one way, and then it's not going to go the way that you thought it's going to go. And in that moment, I want you to remember that you can be disappointed and still give others another opportunity. So in these moments, I want you to assert yourself. I want you to tell them, hey, man, I had this expectation. I thought that this thing was going to happen. You're in every bounds to say that. You can even, I'm frustrated. I'm mad. This made me feel such and such. And you can express that. You can assert what you thought that expectation to be. And here's the hard part. The hardest part about this for me is not asserting myself. It's the hardest part for me is being let down when there was an expectation and having to give someone else another opportunity. Okay? It's not about just asserting myself. Like, that part is the easy part. But are you willing to, if we're trying to talk about honor and we're saying we're trying to live like Jesus, are we willing to give others another opportunity even though they've let us down in the way that we thought that they shouldn't let us down? And I'm not saying don't have boundaries for those that hurt you in another type of way. I think there's an appropriate time for that. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning. But I'm just talking about as you navigate on a day-to-day, like, what does it look like to practice asserting yourself, but then also submitting and realizing, like, man, people are going to fail me. I have one of my best friends, I feel like he's like a mentor to me. He's like 10 years older than me. I remember he told me this one time when I first got saved when I was about 18, 19. He's just like, Josh, let me tell you something. Like, you feel like we're super cool right now, but like, I just need to let you know, like, I am going to let you down. Like, I'm going to let you down. I am a human. I am man. I will let you down. God will never let you down, but I will let you down. And I thought that was so helpful because I was just like, man, you know what? Like, I'm not to put my trust and my full trust in people to have it all figured out, right? People are going to let me down. I'm going to have expectations. They're going to let me down. Am I willing to? Can I give another opportunity? Here's the last thing we're going to talk about as I start to land a plane. And the last thing is this. When it comes to values, you will have conflict around your values, to the thing that you feel that feels super important to you, to the thing that you prioritize over everything. As you navigate life, as you get older, as you find yourself in jobs or at school, you're going to have conflict with those that are in authority when it comes to the values, to the thing that you value. And the posture I want you to take is a posture of addressing those things, right? You can privately bring your hurt to the attention of others, expecting reconciliation, okay? Now, I said expecting reconciliation. I didn't say the fact that you would actually come back together, right? But your initial posture could be one of going towards and expecting that reconciliation. But when it comes to things that you value, and when it feels like it feels a little deeper, right? It feels a little more harsh. And like, you want to take those things, not just publicly, you want to bring that to a person, whoever it is that you feel like offended you in that way, like one-on-one. You want to bring that in a private place, and you want to address that. But again, you want to expect some type of reconciliation as your posture as you are doing that. Listen, as we land the plane, here's the thing. I want y'all to remember. Siri didn't get that, I'll say it again. As we land the plane, I want y'all to remember, you don't control authority, but you do control your response to authority. Okay? You don't control authority, but you do control your response to authority. And I remember talking to, in a story that I told with the kid, and we're both getting written up, and we're going to what they call in-building suspension. And I remember being upset and being like, man, this don't make no sense. Like, I don't know, like, this is not fair, or whatever the case may be. And I remember the assistant principal essentially telling me, like, yo, Josh, life isn't fair, right? If you were older and you bought something off of the street, Like, you can't just go and be like, oh, this didn't work, I want my money back, whatever the case may be. And I was just like, yes, I can. And he was just like, well, that's probably not going to work out well for you. Like, there are going to be consequences for you to do that, right? There are going to be things that happen, and people that are in authority over you, they're going to make decisions just like he had to make, because I was still violating whatever rule that the school had, and he had to follow his procedure. He's like, man, it's not fair. And I think the lesson that I got out of that was this, is our response to authority says more about our character than it does the other person's leadership. Our response to authority says more about our character than it does to the other person's leadership. Translation, how we choose to respond to our parents when they tell us that we can't do the thing, forget about whatever it is that they just told you that you couldn't do. If you're saying that you're a follower of Jesus, how you're choosing to respond says more about you than it does about them. You take that into school, you take that into coaches, you can take that into whatever arena that it is. How we choose to respond when you get older and you have a job, how you choose to respond to authority says more about your character than it does someone else's leadership. So I want y'all to remember, as we land the plane, as we talk about this idea of Monday morning faith, it's this: honor isn't a reaction, it's a decision. And we can make that decision ahead of time. We can make that decision now. You can choose to be a person that's going to be someone that's going to step into honor. You can choose to be a person that's going to pause when things happen and choose to take your next words and your next step carefully. And I'm not saying that you're never going to mess up, but you can choose today to be that type of person, a Christ follower, someone that's following after him because he's already done it. And what I've learned from anything is that he can teach us and grow us and mold us through all of those things. So, honor isn't a reaction, it's a decision we make ahead of time. Are you willing to make that decision today?